Bug Out Vehicles tagged me on this kind of first aid kit, you know. What do you think of first aid in the field? What do you carry? What are your priorities? Blah, 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 blah. I'll put my kind of background on the table. A lot of people know already, but I was a frontline paramedic for a long time. 12 years with London Ambulance. I had all the best jobs there. I ran the first paramedic response units on the streets of London, worked on the helicopter, and then I went to work in the townships in South Africa. When I worked in the townships in Alexander and Soweto, 50 people a day used to get shot. So over my time in the township, I became an authority on penetrating injuries and gunshot wounds. First aid, pre-hospital care, trauma management, it's a massive subject. But I think the foundation stones of it are very, very basic, very, very simple, and that's what I'm going to feed you today. I'm going to bring you in a bit closer. I'm going to talk to you about IFAK, individual first aid kits. So the amount of times I go through a metal detector or a knife arch or something like that when I'm working in some controlled access environments, think sort of airport security, that sort of thing. I get this out and everybody laughs at me. But this is the bare minimum that I carry in any pretty much controlled environment. So the plastic bag itself has some great uses. So you could make a thoraceal out of it if you had a stab wound, sucking chest wound, something impaled in the chest. Sometimes you're going to turn up with on scene. There's going to be someone there to help you, and they won't have any gloves. So always a couple of pairs of gloves at least. A lot of these kind of industrial environments always have a couple of pairs of ear defenders because they can be quite noisy. Got a couple of steri kind of wet wipes, a few plasters. In here I've got 2 triangular bandages, and this is kind of liquid skin, but in truth I've never used it, and this would be more for use on myself if I get a small cut, maybe a splinter, something like that. So this is a basic little first aid kit that I'm going to take to work, and really its primary function is kind of to help me if I cut myself, if I slip, trip or fall, if I'm working in a kind of noisy environment. If I cut myself, I can clean it, I can put a plaster on it. If it's bigger than that, I can clean it, I can get a triangular bandage out, and I can wrap myself up and then get myself off to the first aid post if I need to. And it's really designed for very minor injuries and to get me through the working day. This is my individual first aid kit for me when I'm going to work, and that is normally the least first aid kit that I will have on me. I might take a couple of these out and put it in here. I might take a couple of pieces of paracetamol out and put it in here, that little bottle of Optrex, but that is what I normally have in my pocket all the time, in a plastic bag all sealed up. Now the amount of people that take the mickey out of me, like I say, I go through search stations, I turn around to security guys and sort of say, well hang on a minute, if anything happens and someone gets hurt, someone slips, trips and falls, got a nasty cut on their head, what are you going to do? And they say, well, I'm going to get on the radio, get the first aider to come. But if you're in a factory environment, if you're in a big office block, I mean, how long is that going to take? And what are you going to do until they arrive? You're just going to stand there and watch this person bleed until the first aider arrives with the first aid kit. I like to have an immediate action where every man on the team does something, you know. So if your mate's got a knife stuck in him, if he falls down the stairs, if he cracks his head open, if someone assaults him, what are you going to do for that man right now until the first aid person arrives, until the ambulance comes? What are you going to do to save Billy right now? So this is, you know, direct pressure. You know, you've got your gloves on, you've got a few plasters, you're straight away kind of doing something, and first aid is all about doing something immediately. Something is always better than nothing. Let's take it a step up from that. Sometimes when I'm suited and booted, I haven't got a lot of room for a little bag of monkeys and parrots. It's got to be a lot more discreet. So the minimum again that I carry is a extensive wound dressing. Some people call them a Israeli dressing, but very simply it's a kind of 6-inch gauze pad with a bandage and a pressure clip on it. And you will always find me with one of these inside my suit pocket as an absolute minimum, and that'll be complemented by other equipment. It'll be complemented by the triangular bandages, definitely a couple of pairs of gloves. And so now we get into kind of more serious type injuries, and we're getting an immediate action drill. So my immediate action drill is to make the patient comfortable, start to do something. So get my extensive wound dressing out, put it on the wound, direct pressure, alert the medical services, send somebody for the first aid pack. But this is what I'm doing right now, instead of watching this person bleed until somebody else turns up with the first aid kit. So again, the minimum amount of kit that I will have on me. If we're getting a bit more kind of organised and a bit more serious, then I've got an individual first aid kit. You'll probably find me wearing this on my belt underneath a big barber jacket or something like that. And again, the kit will kind of consist of the extensive wound dressing for direct pressure. I've got a tourniquet, I've got gloves. It all goes in this little pouch, and like I say, I normally clip that on my belt and carry it underneath a big jacket. The other thing that I kind of carry on the back of my trousers normally is my little scissor. All this is a couple of sets of forceps. These plastic ones are disposable. I've got a couple of sets of steel forceps, and I've got some trauma shears. A good set of trauma shears should be able to cut a penny in half, and they really can. I just don't want to destroy a really good pair of shears, but that's their kind of capability. So, you know, motorcycle leathers, heavy work, industrial clothing, you would use those to cut up the seam to reveal the wound, and then you know exactly what you're dealing with.